States move towards gold again. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ainslie Insights, brought to you by Ainslie Bullion, Ainslie Crypto, and the Gold and Silver Standard, as the Ainslie Group celebrates 50 years. Today, we welcome back Sam, who's been exploring an idea one state in particular has been looking at, how gold and silver could have a role to play in supporting the way their money works. How are you going today, Sam?
Good, Chris. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. Down here in Melbourne again. It's actually quite a nice day today, so the weather's improving. So it must be time for me to leave. So we'll see how we go. So the article today, you were talking about really a major political power thinking about using gold and silver as money. This certainly isn't a new idea, but is it gaining new momentum, perhaps?
Yeah, it looks like it does. And something people don't realize about this major political power is just how big it is. So, for example, what if I said that, for example, maybe this year Russia was going to move to using gold and silver as their legal tender,
Hmm.
just or a gold and silver backed currency? That'd be pretty shocking. But if you look at Texas in terms of nominal GDP, they're actually a bigger country than Russia, bigger than
Wow.
Australia, bigger than Canada. And in March, they're going to be voting on some ballot propositions. And one of them is to use the precious metal depository that's already been set up in Texas in, I believe, 2018 to provide access for Texans to use that as currency or as money. So it just will make it potentially more practical for people to use gold and silver as money, because people always say, where are we going to get it? Who's going to make the money? Well, this solves one of those problems potentially.
Yeah, okay, because obviously that is a big problem. If you've got, like, it's one thing to say that we want to start using it, it's another thing to have the actual supplies available. And if Texas already has that, that's very interesting. But I suppose that leads to a question around each state itself, because they all seem to have a different approach. Last time we were talking about this topic, you mentioned the Constitution. So shouldn't that already cover this? How does this work?
It should cover that. So it's Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 of the Constitution states that no, it's a no state shall coin money, emit bills of credit, or make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. So no state should be doing that. It's uh, the fiat currency is an anomaly that's taken over. They should all be using gold and silver, but it's been made really impractical, and the Fed's taken over with their Federal Reserve notes. And yeah, there are just a couple things potentially they overlooked when they wrote that.
And that's a really good point, because and I know that it's even the case here where gold and silver are enshrined in the Constitution, yet we still have fights over what can and can't be done, because you could argue, particularly in that US case, it's very explicit that you really can't even have, and the intention was that you can't have a fiat currency. Well, obviously we do. Obviously the US does, and it's yeah, we can't just strike that down. So why are the states in this case still fighting for this when it's already law? Should they just be able to use it already?
Well, here's one major flaw in that clause. So I'll just say that again. No state shall coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. Keyword, state. No state shall do that.
Right.
It doesn't say, for example, no city should do that. That's why to this day, cities in America, some cities have made their own fiat currencies and operate now. It does not say that a private central bank cannot make their own, their own bills.
So we're
And we can
talking
see,
technicalities here.
yes, that's exactly what happened. So if the states weren't able to do it, oh, no problem. We don't want the states to do it. We want the private, um, you know, banking business to be able to do it, and then we can force all the states to use this money. So they really screwed up with the word state in there. no state shall. It should be something like no entity of any kind should be able to make a fiat currency, only use gold or silver. And it's funny because local communities have come out and said, well, can we make a fiat currency? And the Fed hasn't been able to challenge them because it would go back to this part of the Constitution. They would have to amend it and say, no, you can't make a fiat currency. They would essentially outlaw themselves. So that's one of the kind of funny side effects of being able to have a fiat currency that the Fed can do. Other people can kind of do the same thing and get away with it based on the same loopholes in the Constitution, which is quite funny.
That's a really good explanation, because I don't think I've really heard that before, about why that loop, or how that loophole actually works, because we all know it obviously works, like it is obviously happening, but it does make a lot more sense how you've explained it there. So the next element of this I'd really like to know your perspective on is how practical it would be. Now, we've had this conversation before. I was talking with Alex about this early in the week, this idea of a gold standard and the practicality in the modern age, how it would work if we were to revert to something like that. Do you see there being practical issues how you could use gold and silver and money as money in most US states? I mean, we've got, obviously, you've highlighted Texas has the capacity to potentially do that, but is that the case everywhere in those other states? How would you see that aspect of it working?
Well, the first thing is, one thing I find funny is when people talk about silver and silver coins and things, especially collector coins. Sometimes they say, do you ever think we'll go back thousands of years and just start using silver coins again? And I have to say, look, I don't think 1960s were thousands of years ago. That's, your parents used silver coins. It's not that long ago. Sometimes the people I'm talking to say, oh yeah, I did use silver coins growing up. So it's not that long ago. So practicality, it's very practical. But in terms of practicality in the legal sense, what you have is you have states like Utah and Arkansas that already consider gold and silver to be legal tender. So they're completely in line with the Constitution. Then you have Missouri and Oklahoma. They've just filed bills to eliminate state capital gains taxes on metals. Now, why would you have capital gains taxes or any taxes on buying precious metals? It's supposed to be money, right? Well, yes. You can see it's an obvious attempt to try to just niggle away at people being able to use gold and silver as money practically, because it costs more. And that's the major thing people care about with money. One is convenience, and two is, am I going to lose money if I, put my money into this, or if I put my money into this share, is it going to go down? If I put my money into gold or silver, am I going to have to pay too much tax? And a big thing's just been stripping away these taxes. So as Ron Paul stated, I'm sure a lot of our viewers know who Representative Ron Paul is. He stated we ought not to tax money, and that's a good idea. It makes no sense to tax money. And then he went on to state that paper money is not money, it's fraud. And that was his statement in Arizona to remove capital gains taxes from gold and silver, which was done. So people really just need to, if you want to, even if something is the law, firstly, people have to know what the law is. Secondly, they have to get fired up and actually enforce it.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I mean, Ron Paul, maybe he's made that point really clear there, that underlines this whole conversation. What money actually is, you have to understand that. That's the point you just made, right? Like, you have to understand what it actually is, because a lot of people wouldn't even equate gold and silver with the concept of money in this modern world.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing is stripping away these taxes, which are trying to kind of strangulate or derail the use. And then the second is, we have this major superpower, Texas, which is actually having the infrastructure in place and potentially getting a bill passed to allow the public access to this. Now, one last thing is, a lot of stories come out and say, what if this country does this? What if this country does that? And it never comes to fruition. But the thing is, in 2022, Texas had 10 propositions they were supposed to vote on to say whether it was going to come into effect or not. Just to give you an idea, all 10 passed.
Yeah, right.
So this year, in terms of allowing the public to access gold and use it as legal tender, there is a very good chance this will pass.
Fascinating. Well, thank you for bringing us up to date on that, and I'll be curious to see how that goes when it actually comes around. When is that?
This will be in March.
In March, so it's not even that far away. Yeah, it'd be certainly one to watch, and it's probably one that a lot of us weren't really aware of. So thanks for your work on that.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll chat again soon.